Abstract is what? Abstract is basically, just say when you hire an architect to design your house, imagine you are very rich, right? And you want to design your own house, a flat or whatever. And the architect gives you on the graph an idea that this is, see, look, I'm an artist, but not with the pen tab. Okay. So this is how you enter. This will be your big hallway. This is your first room. This is your second room, the second hallway or whatever. And then this is your bathroom. This is your second bathroom. Here you will have running balcony from outside, you know, in a better way the architect will make. I'm making it rubbish. But the point is, the architect is giving you a design. This is what the abstract is. It's a design, basically, that what is your summary, what you're trying to do, why is it important, what are you trying to focus on. So basically, the idea is to understand what is your topic, where is it located, and be very specific. When is your time frame? Why are you trying to do this? And how will you try to do this? Similar to journalism, but in a much more academic way, like, using words like epistemological and ontological and paradigms. Journalists don't use that. So basically, abstract is about this. Okay, what are you going to talk about? Where is the phenomena that you're going to talk about taking place? When is the time frame? The time frame that you're talking about? Why are you trying to talk about it? Like, why is this paper different? There's so many papers who have been, like, already published on a similar topic. Why is this different? How will you do it? So, what is your research methodology? What is your hypothesis? What is your research question? It should mention that typically it is 300 to 50, 300 words, depending from journal to journal. Then you also mention something called as keywords. Keywords are written in italics. And these are 3 to 4 words that are basic context of your abstract. So keywords are about, say, for example, can anyone give me a topic? Like, any topic that you want to give me. Give me a topic. I'll tell you how to write a paper on that. Baladi dance. I have not heard of it at all. Conflict and gender. Very stereotypical. So if you talk about conflict and gender, organized crime, India-Oman relations, the dynamic Indian diaspora, status of minority in Bangladesh. Let's do that. Status of minority in Bangladesh. So first, your topic is status of, but your topic has to be neutral. So status of minority in Bangladesh is better. The better topic would be inquiry into the status or investigation or changes, because many people would have written about minorities in Bangladesh. Why is your important? Right? So something that shows that your paper is different. So topic has to be neutral, it shouldn't be biased, but the challenges faced by minorities in Bangladesh, I don't want to mention Sheikh Hasina because it's too near. That's one problem with research. When you do research and something just happened, right now, same month, same year, it's too, it's very near to you. It's very emotional. It's very much connected. So it's very difficult to be unbiased. You cannot be objective. At the same time, being objective is also a very colonial context. You have to be objective about things and everything. But at the same time, it's the number of variables you'll start having are more. Now, what is a variable? So you understand variable and constant in a simple way. I have 4 rooms in my house. This is my first window. This is my second window. This is my third window. And this is my fourth window. I have 4 vases with a sunflower. Now again, I'm an artist. Please don't judge me. I have 4 vases. I put all 4 of them on the window pane. Like one sunflower at one, second one there, third one on the third window, fourth one on the fourth window. Do you think all my sunflowers will grow in the same way? Why? You can speak, I guess. I have given the permission.
They will grow where the sun rays are better?
Only sun ray.
And how much I care of them?
Okay. So now imagine that this window, outside this window, this is in my basement. No sunlight. Different growth of the sunflower. Sunflower moves towards the direction of the sunlight, no? So different growth. This window is looking out at a park, but it is towards the west. So it will have sunshine only after afternoon, not in the morning. The entire Vastu, Feng Shui, east facing house, south facing house, north facing house. You understand? It's about air, sunlight, all of that. So then the third window is like this window. It is outside, but then there's an AC there. If I put a plant, look what is happening to it. So that is a problem. You have a window, but you have an AC on it. Keep a sunflower. That I will also see how it grows. Fourth window is east facing. Early morning sunshine. Out of all of them, the fourth sunflower will grow the most. The second one also will grow, but not so much in comparison. Right? What is this? What is constant over here? Constant is your
Sunflower over windows.
sunflower is constant, window is constant. You are constant. You in terms of caring for the sunflower, whatever, putting water and all of that, fertilizers, whatever. What is not constant, which is not in your control? Sunlight,
Growth of it.
air, rain. Today I was praying because it was raining so hard and it went bonkers and it was every time it rains, my electricity goes. And I was like, yeah, this class also I won't be able to take. Right. So sunlight, air, rain, humidity, all of that is not in your control. So this is what is constant. And this is called as variable in a very simple way. I'm giving you a very simplistic understanding, right? It's not deep rooted as such. Every topic that you choose will have a constant and variable. So impact of challenges faced by minorities in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is constant. Minorities are constant. Challenges are not. So the good part about this paper is that it has 2 constants and 1 variable. I'll tell you about the other topics that were given. Discrimination and crime against Indian diaspora in US, Canada, Saudi Arabia post-COVID. Now see what is Ayush, the variable. US, Canada, Saudi Arabia, 3 comparative studies. 3 different comparative studies. You're adding a lot of dimensions into that. Post-COVID. Post-COVID, to bhai, depends on like post-COVID was what? 2021, 22, 23, 24? Not in your control. Discrimination, not in your control. Crime, not in your control. Variable. Indian diaspora comes from different religion, different caste, different education norms, different, many diverse. It's not a homogeneous identity. So again, Indian diaspora, not in your control. That is the problem of this paper. It has a lot of variables. Then comes media and discourses on terrorism in Russia. First problem is there is no definition of terrorism. Now you'll say, okay, how can this be possible? So I'll tell you, when Pulwama took place in India, we mentioned it was a terrorist act. All the other Western media outlets called it suicide bombing. They didn't use it terrorism. But right now, 100 kids, 100 children have died in Gaza yesterday. The word terrorism is not used in the course of Israel. There's no fixed definition of the term terrorism. This is the first thing that I was taught in London. And I was like, how is this possible? Don't give dictionary definitions. Ki Cambridge Dictionary says this and other says. No. In research, we don't quote that. We don't quote Wikipedia also. Media and discourses. Media also is very different, no? Traditional media, like television media, then social media. Which media? That is a variable. Discourse means a pattern of thought. Again, a variable. There's so many patterns of thought. Who is doing terrorism in Russia? Ukraine has invaded in Kirk's region. That is called terrorism. Or Chechnya, or the other, satellite states of Soviet Union who didn't want to be part of Soviet Union, got independence after the dislodging of the Soviet Union, and then they are having, some kind of violent activity in Russia. What discourse? Indian response in global politics. Very huge topic. There was once, what happened was a lot of academics, a lot of panelists, when they go to panel discussions, like I go to BBC, NDTV and all. So we talk as if we are, we are like the face of India or the face of that population, or we are like, the spokesperson. Are we? No. In the same way, India is also not a homogeneous entity, no? Indian response in terms of, it can be very different for different contexts. In global politics, different contexts. Global politics is huge. What part of global politics are you talking about? Trump was supposedly, allegedly, there was an attempt to assassinate him in July. You want to talk about that? 2 days before marked the anniversary of Nixon resigning from the US after the Watergate scandal. You want to talk about that? You want to talk about the riots happening in UK right now? You want to talk about the crisis in Bangladesh right now, or the crisis in Sri Lanka or Maldives? What? Global politics is what? Indian diaspora, baby. Organized crime. Organized crime looks so sophisticated, no, Naveen? That it can be organized by state actors, non-state actors, private security firms, underground and everything. What is the problem with this research paper? Who one from the organized crime will come and talk to you? That look, I do organized crime. Let me be interviewed. No. Why am I saying this? Because, for example, there was a Al Jazeera journalist who went to South Africa and was trying to do a research or an interview on drug peddlers. Now, why will a drug peddler talk to her and get arrested? So what was these? Because as the ethics of journalism is that you don't define your sources. she blurred all the faces and changed the voice recording so that they cannot be caught. Assessing thriving anti-Muslism is there's no concept called Muslism. Right? Acha, when we talk about Islamophobia, questions to ask. Is it same directed for Shia, Sunni, Ahmadiyya, all of it? Zaidi, all of it? Is it only for Sunnis? It is only for why did it start? What is the context of it? We all talk about Islamophobia, but what is the basic nitty-gritty of it? Right? Threat and challenges to the, so when you have threat, then why use the word challenge? Why are you using two variables? Because then when you will try to define threat, then you have to go into the detail of what are the different kinds of threat. Challenges can be anything. It can be psychological, it can be mental, it can be physical, it can be biological. Right? What should be the right proportion of variable and constants, if any? See, it depends, like say when there was a time called MPhil. So, we were taught that, we start like baby steps that at least have uh, 2, 3 constants and 1 variable. Like the constant should be always more than the variables in number. In PhD, we are depending on your supervisor, but again, the point is that the constant should be always more. Someone is saying something. Okay. So the point is that it depends on your topic, but when you're trying to, so you understand every time you make a topic, right? So climate change effects on transgender. Okay. Climate change, it is an evolutionary concept in itself. Transgenders, where? All over the world. Where? And anytime you choose a topic, you should have this idea that will I be able to interview people in that? When I was working on transgenders and the impact of COVID-19, my sample was middle class transgenders. Middle class in the sense coming from middle class background. It was not, that was the sampling bias. I couldn't talk with those transgenders which are at the grassroots level. And those who are at very high level, like fashion designers and, celebrities, they won't talk to me. Why will they talk to me? So that was a sampling bias I had. Threats of religion inclusivity in India. Again, religion inclusivity. What all religion will you include in this? Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism. You also have Jews. You also have Baha'i, Parsis in India. So many variables you are using. In every religion, there's so many sects. Can we write a research paper by our own? Obviously. Who else will write? You will write. So coming back, let us talk about abstract. So challenges faced by minorities in Bangladesh. So first is challenges. This is challenges. So what am I describing because challenge is a variable. What kind of challenge am I talking about? Am I talking about mental, physical, emotional, psychological? What kind of challenge I'm talking about? Second, what are the minorities? So, for example, you have Buddhists, you have Hindus, you have Ahmadiyyas, you have also Rohingya refugees. So many, different context. How much? What is the number of that? What are the data? And what is the constitution of Bangladesh and how the constitution has any kind of freedom for safety and all of it for the minorities? Is there any clause for it? So what is this? Minority. Then Bangladesh, I also have to find out in which locations are maximum minorities located. For example, a lot of Parsis are located in Maharashtra, Gujarat, not all over India. A lot of Jews are there in Kerala, in Northeast India, not all over India. A lot of Christians who are there, most of them are there in Kerala or in Jharkhand, in Goa, in Maharashtra, not all of India, in Northeast India, but not all of India. A lot of Muslims are in Jammu Kashmir, in Uttar Pradesh, in also Kerala, in Delhi, in UP, but not all of India. Like, I'm not saying that they don't exist, but I'm trying to say the numbers. So in Bangladesh also, how many districts are like, how many cities are there? What has the maximum minority population? And what kind of minority population? So if Rohingyas have traveled, so where did they seek refuge in? In which parts of Bangladesh? It cannot be all of Bangladesh, no? So then I have to talk about the time frame. When am I talking about it? Challenges. Matlab, I will suggest not do 2024 because it's just too raw, it's too open, it's evolving. But say, for example, I want to do it during the time of COVID. That how job loss and everything impacted minorities at that point of time. So time frame, I'll say 2020 to 2021. Fifth, after time frame, I have to mention what kind of theory that I'm going to use. What is theory basically? Theory is the way you look at the paper and the world. Are you going to use critical theory? You're going to use constructivist theory. You're going to use feminist theory. You're going to use reconstruction, post-reconstruction gender theory. What kind of theory are you going to use to look at your paper? Theory is like the glass, the lens at which you look at the paper. So what theory are you going to look at the challenges of minorities? And what challenge? Is it violence, abuse, psychological? All of that you have to define, and you have to use Bangladeshi Indian scholars, academics who have worked on that and define it. And then you have to come to a scientific assumption, that is your hypothesis. That the number, the amount, the intensity or struggle of Bangladeshi minority during COVID was the highest during their since 1971 is my assumption. It can be true, it cannot be true. Does that make that my assumption is not scientific? No. We all know H2 plus O2 is H2O, but has anyone created water in a lab? A black water and all of that. But what I'm trying to say is that science is all about experimenting, no? Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. So you might come to know that no, nothing happened to the minorities after 4 months of research. It might happen to you. Like before going to Egypt, I had the idea that all the Egyptians hated their president Mubarak because that was the media lie that had been fed to me, and I had seen all the protests and live telecast and everything. And that is the hyper reality that I went and believed. And I was like, okay, this is like everyone wanted Mubarak to go. When I went there and I was like shocked. People were nostalgic of him. It was certain kind of Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is a kind of empathy that you develop for someone who abducts you or kidnaps you. And I was like, this was never discussed anywhere. Not even Al Jazeera. No one told me. Yes, they told me that few demonstrations pro Mubarak, but so many people being nostalgic of him, this is changing the status quo. Right? So the point is also, and I noticed that people from the lower socioeconomic margins were more nostalgic. So that is why you have to look at what theory you are going to see and what is the time frame, what is your hypothesis, and what is your research methodology, quantitative or qualitative. Then comes your, and then you use keywords, Bangladeshi politics, minority rights, communal violence, all of that. If you add that, those words have to be there in the abstract if you're using it in the keywords. Then comes introduction. Introduction is where you establish that who are Bangladeshi migrants, define them, each of them. It's not just Hindus, each of them. What were the context of their evolution in Bangladesh? So why are the minorities there? Basically, the question should be why minorities shouldn't be there, you know? But then why? Like from where? What was the evolution of Ahmadiyas? What was the evolution of Buddhists in Bangladesh? What was the evolution of Hindus? And why are these people located at certain? What kind of jobs they do? What is the socio-economic status they do? You know, all of these questions. Then you can always use scholars. That this scholar has said this scholar has said this. As many examples. The more scholars you use, the better is your understanding of your own introduction. Then comes is your time frame, that why this time frame is important. Then you give some facts that these many job cuts happened and all of this happened, and this is the politics of it and all of this. Maximum women were cut down from jobs and everything, all of that. Then you give the context of what is the system of politics or constitutional politics in Bangladesh. You define that. Right? Now, all of this depends on how long your research paper is. 8,000 words, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, depending on that is your introduction. Then you come to literature review. There are 12 different kinds of literature review, but I cannot tell you all of them. So I'm telling you, basically literature review is what? Literature review is, now you go to Google Scholar. This is what you go to Google Scholar. Here you write Bangladeshi minorities. Right? Now I want something which is since 2023 recent. So I'll go for that. Or everything with PDF, no? I can download. I don't need any context. Impact of COVID-19 on struggling ethnic minority entrepreneurs, business strategy, the case of Bangladeshi curry houses in UK, social origin, psychological adjustment, school achievement in minority children in Bangladesh, indigeneity and recognition ethnic minority rights in Bangladesh, preserving and promoting indigenous language frameworks and all of that in Bangladesh, sociological perspective, social media, rumors, attack on minorities, evidence from Bangladesh, all of it. I can download all of that. When you have to cite it in your reference, you can just click here. When you press cite, no? So it has already done it for MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver. You can copy paste it. But I must caution you, it's not always correct. Sometimes, APA will not be done correctly. Google Scholar has that issue. But I'm just saying you that you can use that in referencing. So now what you will do is that specifically about minorities, COVID, Bangladesh, you will download all the papers and start going through that. Literature review basically is not about you go to all the papers and say, Acha, A said this about Bangladeshi migrants, B said this about Bangladeshi migrants, C said this about Bangladeshi migrants. No. You first contextualize your literature review into 3 parts or 4 parts. Women as in gender minorities in Bangladesh, religious minorities in Bangladesh, state reaction to or state protection to Bangladeshi minorities. 3 topics. Now you find three scholars each or 5 scholars each in the simplistic way. Read about their work And when you quote them, your work as a researcher is to critique what they missed in the paper. You first establish that this person XYZ has said this about Bangladeshi minorities, but then you have to be the harshest critic and mention that this is what they did not say. This is the research cap of their paper. That is literature review. It's not about copy pasting what XYZ has said, right? Literature review is done after introduction, right? Then once you do literature review, your introduction is done. You then think about your research question. That what do you want to know? What is your question? Why is it important? Why do you want to know about it? You want to know the legal changes of rights. You want to know the socio-political changes of rights. You want to know about the safety concerns. What do you want to know? So you can have 3-4 research questions. It's better if you have just in the first baby steps, 1 or 2. Then is your hypothesis. Hypothesis is singular. Hypothesis is plural. So hypothesis is key. The religious minorities faced a lot of challenges during COVID pandemic in Bangladesh. This is my observation, like assumption, scientific hypothesis. Then comes your research methodology. So research methodology is how are you going to find your answer? See, the real answer you'll never know. But how are you going to find answer for your paper? Qualitatively, quantitatively. If you're using qualitative, what I can say in like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, qualitative is case study. You go to Dhaka, you go to Chittagong, you go to some city in Bangladesh, you go talk to people, do ethnographic study, ask them questions, but detailed, like 5 or 10 or whatever. If you can't go to Bangladesh, then you find people who are from Bangladesh, scholars or journalists or academics who will talk to you and explain to you about it. 5, 10 in-depth case studies. Then comes quantitative. What is quantitative? When I have to email everyone about any event, like more than 4 people or 3 people, if I'll add in BCC or CC in Gmail, it will go in your spam. So if there were more than 100 registrations for this, I sent 100 emails so that it doesn't go in spam. Because then the business model is to buy GMAS. GMAS will let you send 50 emails to your recipients in one day. And like 50. Ah. So then you also do scheduling. Why am I telling you this? So that you respect all these promotions emails that you get. Because they use email marketing platforms like MailChimp and Odoo and God knows what to send you and to reach out to your inbox. It is very difficult. It takes a lot of time. It's very, like difficult to email so much. And most of them are paid. So if Nykaa or Myntra or Amazon is sending you and then you just go and say subscribe from this. So just understand that they are paid for it. That's why it's in your inbox. Anyway, jokes apart, quantitative research is what? See, the moment you buy anything, like from Amazon or from Flipkart or whatever, they immediately send you an automatic message, no? How was the experience? If you buy something from Blinkit or Swiggy, like out of 5 stars, how much stars will you give? Automatic, no? You're a customer, you get it. Why are they doing this? It is a survey collection method to reach out to more people. They don't want to know how your day was, not want to know who you are, why you're ordering this, why did you order this the same day. They also know that the last chips packet might have not finished. They don't care. They just want to know how is their service rated by you. That is the survey. As simple as that. Right? Friendship Day, Blinkit was the only company that gave me a friendship band. And that is like, why are they? It's a friendship day. I didn't know. Promotional offers, because they are evolving, right? For once upon a time, Facebook, when Facebook became very popular and then boring, the Facebook data scientists and algorithm managers and all of them, they spent 6 months to find something that can hook you more on Facebook. 6 months. And you know what they came up with? They came up with the like button. Like button, it was the first platform to introduce it. And then emoticons and all of it. Now you can just like anyone's post and just be in touch. You don't have to have a conversation or write something. And they also know that you're in touch. It took 6 months. They were evolving the user response. So all these companies, or if even you as a researcher, you have to reach out to large number of people in a small amount of time. You are trying to create some kind of formula, some calculation. You're trying to use the software R or SPSS. There are different kinds of statistic tests. You don't have time to spend, just have 10 volunteers or 10 spokesperson talk to you. You want to know the general ideation. That is when you use the survey method in a simpler way. I'm talking about quantitative is more than that, but simpler. And then you ask like 4 questions each, like, have you feel threatened? Yes, no, I don't know what is threatening. What is your gender specific, threatening or challenge? I don't know what is gender. Oh, yes, I feel threatened. No, I've never felt this. I'm the safest I will threaten others. You write 5 questions and then you give 5 options and then you just circulate it in the sample or the Bangladeshi subset that you have to understand. And then you get the response. You might get 100 people. And then you can create, some kind of theory of X, Y, Z karke formula. You can create quantitative research is done mostly in US and Australia and New Zealand and other places. I'm speaking in a very simplistic way. It is much more heavier than this, but I'm speaking in a very simple way to make you understand it. So you're trying to create a prediction, create a pattern through numbers. That is the quantitative game. Then you write data analysis and correction. So when you analyze data, either here you mention your theory, or even in the literature review, you can mention the theory that you're going to use. What was your theory? How have you come to the conclusion that, how did you see the data? Fine, qualitative, quantitative was the process of finding the data. Now, how will you study the data? What software are you going to use to study the data? What method are you going to use to study the data? That comes under data analysis. There are many ways of studying the data, analyzing the data, because you get hundreds of data. What data is important? What data is not important? Once there was some problem with my bank account, so I forgot my password. So I went to the bank. So the uncle who was there, and I was young, I won't tell you my age right now. So I went over there, and then he like opened my account and everything. And he said, "How much Paytm you do?" And I was like, "Hey, I am trying to give you a lot of data. You'll get confused." I didn't tell it to him, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is that you get so much of data. What data to select, what data not to select. You'll get data about age, location, gender, gender binary, non-gender binary, religion, different kinds of religion, different kinds of sex within religion. What data are you going to choose, and what data will you omit for your research paper? What if some minority, in some cases, they have is undergoing therapy? Some is coming from a very lower socioeconomic background. Someone is coming from a middle class background. Someone is very rich. I will talk to you, but anyway, very rich. Someone is educated. Someone doesn't know English. Someone's cat is typing in your survey. What data to take? What data not to take? That is data analysis. And then comes conclusion, that how do you finally come to a conclusion? It is not the truth, it is not the reality, it is the conclusion of your paper. How have you been able to create it? So could there be possible bias in data omission? Yes. So Bushra, what happens is, like when you say I submit a paper to Sage or to Springer or whatever, and there are 3 reviewers they will choose. So what is peer review? So there are 3 academics they are going to connect with. Your name, your identity will be omitted so that there's no bias. These academics can be from US, they can be from Indonesia, they can be from Pakistan, they can be from Sri Lanka, they can be from UK, they can be from Australia, anywhere. They don't know who you are, you don't know who they are. When they see your data analysis method, they can mention that why that data was not collected. They can mention that. Sometimes what happens, when we write a literature, like a research paper, we are so involved, you're so involved in it, that suddenly it becomes invisible to you. What I'm trying to say is that you become unaware of your own mistakes because you're so much into the process, right? You don't even know that if you're being biased. You get so involved. It is so difficult to become objective at that point of time and to separate yourself, right? There's so many ideas that you are not able to think about on your own. So that's why if you have a study group, or if you have other peer members who from your age group, or some elder, whatever, who can mention that these are some of the problems of your paper, I think that's how a book is written, no? So this is something that you should deal with. This is something that you should have dealt with. Like, I review a lot of books every month, like not lot, at least 1 book a month. Recent book that I reviewed was of Aruna Roy, Personal is Political. And when I read the book, so when I'm reading, I am coming from a different point of view. She is writing from a different point of view. I will critique it from a different point of view. So that there is more, discourse and debate around it. Right? So always there will be data omission. Okay, the slides that we have to cover, it is 9 and just a second. So in those slides, there were only 3 things. The first thing was what is H index? What is Scopus database? ORCID ID, all of those. And H index is basically, say, for example, I've written a paper, and my paper has been quoted by at least 10 different people 10 times. So 10 will be my H index. That is the H index of your paper. ORCID is like your, so in India, you have PAN card or Aadhaar card, right? In US, you have some other kind of identity proof. So academics have an identity proof called as ORCID. It doesn't matter in which university you're teaching, international, Indian, Indonesian, Pakistani, no. So ORCID is a database. It is every academic has an ORCID ID. And whatever work that they keep on doing, it gets added manually or automatically into it, and you get points for it. Now, why are those points important? So, for example, when you apply for an academic job, so you get points for many things, like bachelor's, where did you do national, international, master's, national, international, how many conferences have you spoken at, how many patents do you have? You have points for all of this. How many research papers you have written, how many book chapters. For book chapters, comparatively less, but research journal papers have more points. In how many international, national conferences, presentations you were the resource person and not, then how many sponsorships or fundings have you got for your institution in the past? All of that. So a lot. So out of 100, you get marks. For all these journal entries are for your marks, like the point system, if you want to get into academia. So for example, mine was 94 out of 100. You get maps of like points all of according to it. Do you have net, do you have PhD, like MPhil, no, but PhD, all of that, you get points for that. So that is why journal entries are important. Predatory journals, any journal that starts with the name international is a predatory journal. Any journal that is asking you 2,000, 5,000 rupees and it publishing your paper without peer review within 2 days, 5 days, it is a predatory journal. What is a predatory journal? Predatory journals are journals where they are not in the Scopus index. What is Scopus index? Scopus index is the list of all the legitimate, high quality, high ranking journals all over the world. So what is the problem if you write in these research papers? Their points will not be added. So imagine you have worked very hard for 4-5 months and you get this offer and this, and any research or like any journal that emails you, that is the first red flag. Any journal that emails you, it's a predatory journal. I have learned it the hard way. It has happened with me. Any journal that emails you is a predatory journal, because you can't believe Springer, Sage, Rattlers emailing you, no? But what is the problem with Springer and Sage and others? The problem is that they take 8 months, 9 months to publish, because 3 academics are going to review it, right? So it takes time, but and sometimes they will ask you to give revisions. And then again, you work on it. So it's a long process, but it has more idea. If a book is a Springer publication, for example, does a chapter in it count as a paper published by Springer? No, a book is not a journal, no? No. Ma'am, if we write a paper on an article comparing more than 5 countries on international, how should we look? No, the point is you should not do it. No, I will not recommend. 5 countries is too much. Comparative maximum is between 2. 5 is too much. Okay, so this was what I teach and how I teach. One reason of holding this webinar was to interact with all of you. The second was to let you know that I have a course, which is a 4-month course on how to write a research paper. There are a few students from that course here also. If you are interested in being a part of that course, because we are right now only in the starting phases of it, then this is the link where you can register yourself, right? It will ask you many questions, who you are, why you want to research and all of this. Have a look. It's a 4-month course. We meet Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.